Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most action-packed chapters in any ancient text. We're going to see three back-to-back encounters that escalate from the supernatural to the deeply personal to the absolutely impossible. Let's break it down. So what happens when you pit unstoppable power against immovable problems? This chapter is going to answer that question for us. Our story begins on a shoreline, right after a violent storm. You can almost feel the tension in the air. All right, Act 1. Our first encounter is with a man nobody could control, someone living so far on the fringes of society he was basically a ghost story come to life. Verses 1 and 2. So the boat lands in the country of the Gadarenes. Now this is a non-Jewish region, which is a big deal. And the setting? A graveyard, a place of death. The moment, literally the second, Jesus steps onto the shore, this figure doesn't just walk up to him, he confronts him, running straight out of the tombs. Verses 3, 4, and 5 give us this terrifying profile. This guy lives among the dead. People have tried to restrain him, but he has this superhuman strength. He just shatters chains and breaks shackles. And he's in constant agony, screaming day and night, hurting himself with stones. He is the very picture of total, uncontrollable chaos. Verses 6 and 7, and here's where it gets really weird. This wild, untamable man sees Jesus from a distance, runs, and then just falls down in front of him. The first words out of his mouth are a shriek. It's a bizarre mix of recognizing who Jesus is and being absolutely terrified of him. Verses 8 and 9, Jesus speaks with just this calm authority. Come out of the man. Simple command, but the answer he gets, it's chilling. What is your name? And the man replies, my name is Legion, for we are many. A Roman legion was thousands of soldiers. This isn't just one problem, this is a full-blown occupation. So in verses 10 through 13, this bizarre negotiation starts. The spirits beg to be sent into a nearby herd of pigs. Now, for the original audience, pigs were the symbol of everything unclean. Jesus gives them permission, and then total chaos. 2,000 animals stampede off a cliff and drown in the sea. This unseen force is made visible, and then it's just gone. Verses 14 to 17. The pig herders run to town, and everybody comes out to see what happened. But what they find isn't a spectacle of destruction. They see the man who used to be a monster, now just sitting there, dressed, perfectly calm and sane. And here's the kicker. This quiet miracle scares them more than the chaos ever did. They actually ask Jesus to leave. Verses 18 to 20. As Jesus is getting back into the boat, the man he just healed begs to go with him. But Jesus gives him a different job. He tells him, go home, tell everyone what happened. So the man who was once the town's greatest fear becomes its first storyteller. An incredible turnaround. Okay, so Jesus crosses the sea again. And where the last shore was empty and haunted, this one is packed. There's a huge crowd pressing in. And somewhere, hidden in that crowd, is our second impossible situation. Verse 25. The storyteller introduces this next person with just one number, 12. For 12 long years, a woman has been suffering from a bleeding condition. Now, this didn't just make her sick, it made her ceremonially unclean. It cut her off from her community, from worship, from everything. 12 years of total isolation. And verse 26 tells us her journey has just been this downward spiral. 1, she suffered under many doctors. 2, she spent every last dime she had. And 3, she wasn't any better. In fact, she was only getting worse. She is at the absolute end of her rope. Verses 25 to 29. Now for the moment of truth. Put yourself in her shoes. You're crawling through a forest of legs, thinking, if I can just touch his clothes, that's all I need. Her fingers brush the edge of his robe. And instantly, this jolt, this feeling of wholeness she hasn't felt in over a decade, it's over. She's healed. Verses 30 to 32. But the story doesn't end there. In the middle of this mob, Jesus just stops cold. He felt power go out from him. His friends are like, what are you talking about? Everyone's touching you. But he knows this was different. And the whole crowd hushes as he turns, scanning every face, looking for that one person. Verses 33 and 34. She comes forward, absolutely terrified, thinking she's in trouble. But Jesus doesn't scold her. He looks at her and calls her daughter, giving her back her identity, her dignity, right there in front of everyone. He doesn't just heal her body, he makes it personal and sends her away in peace. Believe it or not, the stakes are about to get even higher. Remember the guy who came to get Jesus in the first place? A synagogue ruler named Jairus? Well, he's been waiting this whole time, and that delay, it's just cost him everything. So let's rewind a few minutes back to verses 22 to 24. This is how the second half started. Jairus, a very important religious leader, throws away all his dignity, falls at Jesus' feet in public, and begs him to heal his daughter. And get this detail. How old is she? She's 12 years old, the exact number of years the woman had been suffering. Verses 35 and 36. Now, that delay proves fatal. A messenger arrives from the house. Your daughter is dead. It's over. Don't bother the teacher. That is the voice of absolute, final despair. But Jesus immediately cuts through that noise, looks straight at the Father and says, don't be afraid, only believe. Verses 37 to 40. They finally get to the house. And the first thing that hits you is the sound. Professional mourners wailing, a whole scene of public grief. And when Jesus says she's not dead, she's just asleep, their professional crying turns to genuine laughter. They mock him. So he calmly puts all the chaos and all the unbelief right outside the door. Verse 41. This is the climax. The room is now quiet. Just Jesus, the parents, and 3 of his friends. Imagine this close-up. His hand gently takes the small, cold hand of this little girl. He doesn't shout. He doesn't perform some big ritual. He just leans in and says 2 simple Aramaic words, like a father waking up his child. Talitha kumi. Little girl, get up. Verses 42 and 43. And she does. Just like that. She gets up and starts walking around. The parents are just speechless, completely stunned. And in the middle of this mind-bending, reality-altering moment, what does Jesus say? Get her a snack. It's this profoundly human, practical touch right after an impossible miracle. So, when you step back and look at the whole chapter, you realize this isn't random. It's a masterfully told story in 3 acts. We see power over the spiritual realm. Then, power over chronic, incurable disease, ending 12 years of suffering. And finally, power over death itself, giving life back to a 12-year-old girl. The connections are deliberate, and they are powerful. And that's where the chapter leaves us. It doesn't wrap everything up with a neat little bow. It shows you this incredible, escalating display of power and compassion. And then it turns to you, the reader, and asks the ultimate question. Who is this person who can command demons, heal the incurable, and reverse death with a word? What do you do with someone like that?